Hello everyone, Mav Hunter here. Well, after a straight 3 days of heavy wind and heavy rain, I'm headed back out for my last trip on the bay. I do a quick check inside the hull of the Hobie Pro Angler below my feet, and the hull is dry inside, which is a little surprising with all the rain that we had. I thought I would have accumulated a little bit of water, but it was dry. The water is a pretty stained today, the color. I just think it's from all the rain and the runoff. So the water is actually a little bit on the brown side. So I'm going to fish a rotating flasher today and an anchovy in a anchovy helmet that I pin the head of the anchovy in, and that gets it to spin the right way. But being low tide this morning, I'm hoping that by 10:30, which is about 2 hours before high tide, I might have some luck and get another halibut or two or three to take home with me. It's been a long 3 weeks. Weather just has been a mess, which has really limited my ability to fish out here on the bay. Oh my goodness, look at those dark clouds on the horizon there. Looks like a pretty good storm. Hopefully it's blowing to the east today with this slight westerly wind. Blowing east toward Oakland, I hope, because it looks nasty down there. Well, I've been fishing about an hour on this low slack tide. Haven't had any strikes. Like I say, it's the first day I've been able to get out in 5 days because of the storm, the rainstorm and the windstorm. Just can't fish the kayak in 1.5 to 3 foot waves with a 25-30 mile an hour wind. So this is my last day of the 3-week trip. So hopefully I can hook up a halibut, but from all that rain, the bay is pretty murky today. But we'll see. Hopefully if this wind can lay off till high tide around noon today, I might be able to put a fish or two in the boat, which would be a nice way to end the trip. All right, everybody, stay tuned. I'm working a shallow shelf here, which right now is about 14 feet deep, and at high tide in a few hours, it should be about 17 to 19 feet deep. I'd caught many fish here the previous week. Actually caught 4 limits of halibut the week before the storm hit. So I'm going to give this shallow shelf another try, although I'm not marking a lot of bait compared to the previous week. Few patches of bait this morning, but it's pretty scattered. We are at low tide. It just turned, the tide's starting to come in, and the current is pretty substantial. We'll see what happens in a couple hours with the bite, if it happens at all today. Barometer's not steady. It's jumping up and down. That's usually indicative of not a very good catching fish day when that barometer's going up and down like that, real crazy like. But this is my last day, so I gotta make the most of it. I just had a pretty good takedown off camera, but now I've got the fish hooked and I'm bringing it up the boat to get a good look at it. Feels like a halibut, but feels like it's not very big. So I'm thinking it's probably a legal size halibut. I hope it's not a short. I've caught a couple shorts already. Shorts are halibut that are under the 22-inch minimum size. I call them bait stealers. But we're going to get this one up the boat, take a good look at it. One thing, I never pull fish out of the water and measure them on my board. I've got the side rail of my kayak marked at 24 inches, and also my gaff hook is marked at 23 inches. So those are my two measuring tools. I just don't believe it's in a fish's best interest to haul them out of the water, bang them around your boat and handle them and whatnot, especially if they're shorts and you're going to let them go. I'm taking a close look at this one. It looks to be legal, like maybe 23, 24 inches. So I think I'll land this fish. If this were a bigger halibut, I would have gaffed it behind the gills in the stomach area, which sort of paralyzes them. But this one's pretty small, so I just gently ease the gaff hook up through the gill plate and out the mouth, thereby not injuring the fish right away. But yeah, I just measured it against the side of my kayak there, and it looks to be legal size. So just to make sure, since this is my first perhaps keeper of the morning, I'm going to put him on the measuring board here. Oh yeah, he's easily, he's 1.5 inches past the minimum, so it's a 23.5 inch halibut. Now I'm going to take care of the halibut. I'm going to put on a diver's hoop stringer, so to speak. Then I'm going to cut the fish's gills so it can bleed out. One thing, I never hang my fish from the kayak stringer and then continue fishing, trolling along. A lot of people do. But I've had sea lions and I've had harbor seals come up and tear the fish off my stringer. And one time I had a sea lion come up and grab a rather large halibut I had, a 36 inch halibut. And that sea lion almost flipped my kayak over before the stainless steel diver's hoop ripped through the fish's gills. So now I cut and bleed the fish for a couple of minutes. Then I bring them aboard and dispatch the fish with a blow to the head. And then the fish goes up front in my Mako fish bag. And in my Mako fish bag, I put 3 bottles of frozen water. Each bottle is 24 ounces, and that acts as ice while I'm out there fishing, and also an emergency water supply if I drink my normal 1.5 liters of water when I'm out there. Hey everybody, Mav Hunter here. Well, I've got one 23.5 incher in the boat. Nice small halibut, but it's legal by 1.5 inches. Had one other strike, and that was all around 10 o'clock, just after 10 o'clock. It's now about 10:30. This is when I expected the bite to start to pick up between now and perhaps noon. So I hope my legs can handle it until noon, and then I have to pedal the kayak back into the launch. So it's my last day, so might as well give it all that my legs can take. I can always recover tomorrow and on the drive home. Alright, fish in the fish bag, so I'm not skunked. Slow trolling for halibut in South San Francisco Bay. Been an hour since I last touched base and haven't had a single bite. So low tide was at 6:30. It's now 9 o'clock in the morning. Low tide's at 12:30 today. So got about probably an hour and a half until I think the bite will probably start with these fish. Always tough for halibut fishing in a strong current. I tried going with the current, with the incoming tide, and now I'm angling against the incoming tide. I'm taking that angle because there's a little cut over here, a little drop off that goes from 12 to 20 feet for just a short distance. And I was hooking up fish there a few days ago before the storms and the wind kept me off the water. So just taking my time, just making my way over there because I'm kind of going, the current's going this way and I'm going this way, so I'm kind of going cross current. I always try to avoid going directly into a current, especially for these halibut, because right now they're flat on the bottom as they usually are, but they're facing into the current. So my bait presentation, my flasher, my little anchovy, spinning anchovy, is coming from behind the fish right now. Where when you're trolling with the current, your bait is coming toward the fish. They can visually pick it up a lot easier. They can also smell the scent of the anchovy because it's coming toward them in the current. So I'll check in later. It's 9 o'clock and I don't see a bite happening till 10:30. All right, stay tuned. Mav Hunter out. Well, after a few hours of pedaling around the kayak, I decided my legs need a break, so I'm going to take a little rest here. And it's really important when you're out kayak fishing or any outdoor activity to make sure you can re-energize your body. So here I'm having a croissant with peanut butter and jam, and then I'm going to hydrate with my water bottle. And I usually take a 1.5 liters, sometimes 2 liters of water with me, and as emergency backup I always have 3 1-liter bottles of frozen water up in my fish bag for emergencies, but that's mostly to keep the fish bag and the fish in the bag nice and cold. But I always take lunch and a snack and plenty of fluids, so if there's okay, let's see, I just had a pretty good takedown here. Of course, the sun comes out for just a brief bit, at least a partial blue sky. And right away, as soon as the sun came out, I got picked up on here. So doesn't feel like a very big fish. Feels like the first one, probably just over legal size. So I'm going to take a look at it here. I've still got a couple, 3 more hours to fish, and the next 2, well, 2 of those 3 hours should be prime time to maybe get a bigger fish. Yeah, this one's about 22, 23 inches again, so I'm going to bring it alongside the boat here and take a gamble and release this one, hoping that one of the next 2 I catch might be a bigger halibut. I've always had a goal of catching a halibut over 40 inches, but the best size fish I've taken here, best size halibut I've taken here in this area off Oyster Point has been 36 inches. So we'll let this one go. I noticed I had a few little tap tap taps on my bait. So I started reeling in to check it, and also I realized there was a fish on here, but right away I knew it wasn't a halibut, and I also knew it was pretty small. Looks like I've got a little rock fish here, so I got my de-hooker, because once again, I try to keep fish in the water or over the water when I'm unhooking them. Fish I'm going to release, I don't really want to bring them in the boat and have them flopping around. So I just try to keep them in the water or over the water and do as quick a release as I can on the fish. I see a lot of fishermen will pull the halibut in and immediately measure it on the board, only to watch them throw the halibut back in because maybe it's 18 inches. But when you fished as long as I have, you can pretty much take a look at a halibut and you can know if it's 22, 23, 24 inch range. Just on the water experience. That rockfish was a little bait stealer, so I got another anchovy. I thought of bringing herring with me, but I ran out of herring, and this being my last day, I'm using the 12 frozen anchovies, what they call tray bait, because that's what I have with me. And I think in this dirty water, a bigger bait might have been the better choice. So I'm making do with what I have because it is my last day. So here I'm pinning another anchovy into the anchovy plastic head and get the tension just right, little curl to the bait. And I said just a little bit of curl because you want the bait to spin in a tight spiral with the tail. You don't want it to be, the tail of the bait to be turning a great big wide arc. So I like a tight little spin on my baits. This has been true whether I'm fishing them for stripers or salmon, or in this case, halibut. I just had a takedown here. Went to my phone to turn on the GoPro camera because I've got the GoPros, both of them operating on Bluetooth. And it made a couple of runs initially, but now it's just coming up to the boat. And I can see it's another typical size halibut for the day. A little bit bigger though. I think this one might be 25, 26 inches. Getting him on the diver hoop stringer here. Now do a quick cut of his gills. Get this one bled. I just measured it to my gaff, and the place I have marked on my gaff is 23 inches, and he was 2 inches, at least 2 inches past the 23 inches. So the place on my gaff is marked at 23 inches. And this fish was easily 2 inches past that 23-inch permanent black mark that I've got on my gaff, which I use to measure. Letting my daughter know that I've got a couple halibut and I'll be on my way home shortly. Okay, it's 1 p.m. You can see it's still partly cloudy, sunspots here and there, other times very dark clouds moving over, but I didn't get rained on. The water seemed to clear up a little bit the last hour or so, but my legs have had it, so I'm headed back to the Oyster Point kayak launch. And I didn't have too bad a day. I landed 3 legal halibut. I kept a 23.5, which was the first one, and I kept the 25-inch halibut, which was my third one, and I released that second one, which was 22.5, 23 inches. Also tallied a few shorts, those short sublegal size halibut, and I let those go, and of course the rockfish that I turned back. So here I'm pedaling, averaging about 3 miles per hour. But wow, I can tell since I've been fishing since before 6 a.m. and it's now 1 p.m., my legs have really had it. So we're going to get in the launch here, and I don't see anybody here being midweek. So it looks like pulling up the kayak and getting it up to the car and trailer is all going to be me. Sometimes I meet fellow kayakers, and we all help each other, which is kind of a real nice thing about these kayak fishermen. We all help each other out. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit the like button and hit the subscribe button to stay tuned for more or new video releases. Thank you, everybody. Oh boy. Oh, my leg muscles are like noodles. I'm lucky I didn't fall down on my butt right there into the water.